Hello and welcome to a special Transmissions podcast episode here. This is something that I have been dying to do for years and only recently found a way to do it. My guest today is Izzy Franzese. She is a social worker currently working on her clinical master's of social work at the College of St. Rose in Albany, New York. And she is joining me here to talk about why we collect, the reason why behind it. Welcome, Izzy.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Darryl. I'm really excited to talk about this topic, not only because I love psychology and doing clinical, but social work. Transformers has been one of my favorite things of all time since I was like 12 years old. So
it's a great pairing, and let's start with that. I put out a bit of a call to one of the Transformers Facebook groups, just looking for a fan who happened to be a specialist with psychology and that kind of stuff. And you answered the call. So you're obviously a Transformers fan. How long you been in the fandom?
Absolutely. I have been in the fandom, oh my God, since 2007. Which actually I could literally pinpoint the exact moment of which I became a fan. And that would be December 26th, 2007, the air date of Transformers Animated on Cartoon Network.
Wow.
I literally got up in the morning and I just remember like throwing on Cartoon Network, as I do, you know, when you're a kid, and just immediately saying, didn't this come out as a movie? And like, as like a preteen teenage girl, of course, like a lot of us girly fans are very like, oh, Bumblebee, oh my God. Like, and so that was it for me. And so I grew up in a household that was already like avid sci-fi collectors. My dad has been a Trekkie since, like 62 he was born, so pretty much like he's been watching it his whole life.
Wow. And
so he actually I have a great story. My first figure was the 80s Jetfire, the white one, with the visor, and he's like, I've got these Macross figures if you want to look at them, you're into robots now. I said, oh, this is Jetfire from the, with the original metal parts. And so from then I just was like an avid collector. And I got into, and as the years went on, I realized, oh, okay, this has been around since 84. Much, almost 10 years older than me. But
that's amazing. Yeah. The fact that you said that, you were a kid in 2009 watching it makes me feel so old.
I promise. I'm 27 now this year. I literally turned 27 this month. You're not that old.
I've turned 42 this year. I'm pretty old now. So
So you are the answer. You're now the answer. 42.
Yes, I am it. Yeah. So that's fantastic. Do you still have that original Jetfire?
I do. I could actually go grab it if you wanted to, if this was like, because it's an audio, podcast. I'm not sure if that was like something that you'd want me to do, but
hey, it's a great figure. I love it. I've got one. It's behind me here. It's in a box. It's in its original box. Still.
Oh, okay. So my dad got his at a freaking garage sale. So he did not know the sentimental worth that it was going to mean to me, especially.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Okay. Yeah.
You gotta keep that stuff. You got all the parts for it?
I do. Yeah. He is, I do have all the parts for it. His tail, the flap in the back with his little wings.
Yep.
Yeah. The little fins are not connected, unfortunately, but I do have it. But it's not like I'm going to sell them.
That's the sentimental one, right? You got to keep it. I've got a mask figure, and it's just happened to have it out because I was doing something with mask, and this figure here, it's broken, It's missing a bunch of parts. You put the landing gear and it pops down because it's broken. But I keep this one because it was the last figure my dad gave me as a present before he passed away. So, and this was a long time ago, but it's one of those ones that just kind of, it's not going anywhere. It's staying, and it's kind of a piece of junk. If anyone had this in their collection, be like, this is no good. It's not worth anything.
Right.
It is priceless to me. So
no, absolutely. And that's, that's so funny that we bring that up because we'll be talking about collecting.
I assume so.
Yeah. So that is a great segue into that because, some people will collect only like mint things. And, because what's so fascinating about this topic is there's so many reasons that people collect things. And maybe for people who only want mint condition, maybe they are collecting for the future financial aspect of, they can say later on, I'll be able to sell this. This is worth $1 million.
Sure.
But for maybe collectors like us, I know I collect because for nostalgia reasons. I've been collecting since, like I said, since I was like 12. And so, that is something really, Transformers is special to me in a lot of different ways. I think if we're talking about psychology and Transformers, like, let me tell you what got me through middle school was not, Friends. It was definitely Transformers. So that's what, one of the reasons that people can, two of the reasons is
there's a lot of abilities for the franchise to dig into. And especially for you, at the time you got into it, sure, you could watch Transformers animated. The movie came out at the time, the first movie, second movie, maybe, depending on when you were looking for it. Right. But you could go into the back catalog as well, and you could dig into that. Whereas me, I had Generation 1. And as I got older, maybe, Beast Wars, if I really wanted to get into it. I was very limited on Transformers, but also it was the 80s. So I had Ninja Turtles and I had all these other massive, massive properties that were coming out. And, and they were all really very, very good. And you could kind of jump from one to the other pretty easily. But I'm glad that you had that for yourself, and ability to kind of go back and look at all the old stuff as well.
Absolutely. And especially since I started my collecting and my love of Transformers with animated, there's so many amazing G1 and Beast Wars Easter eggs in there that I got to go back and be like, now I understand that reference. Like, so it was definitely.
That's good. Yes, that's very good. So that was one of the things I was going to ask you is yes, with the aspects of Transformers. Are you in it for the toys? You in it for the story? Are you in it for just the community? Where do you kind of find yourself?
Absolutely, and I'm so happy that you asked that question because Transformers is literally one of like my favorite things ever, obviously. But like, so I originally had got into it because I loved the animation and I loved the story. May you rest in peace. Derek Wyatt was like literally one of my biggest inspirations for art. Like if I were to show any of my art, you can see Derek Wyatt in there. And so as I got older and, life kind of moved on from that like hyper focus of Transformers. I definitely am still in it for the community. And I am definitely still in it for the figures because, every now and again, when I see a figure I really like, I just, when was it? A couple of, almost a month ago, they came out with like a sneak peek of, I'm going to mess this up and people are going to hate me, but I think it was a Legacy Prowl from Animated, like literally, or it was, they were doing like, they've been coming out with like a line of, revamped toys. Like they just came out with Bulkhead.
That's right.
From Prime with the Prime mold, but like the hound body. So that's like a figure that I'm really excited for. So I think I definitely still, and it's so funny because I definitely was not in it for the collectibles originally. But definitely more
That's
for
come
the
around for
stories.
you, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I have more of appreciation for figures as I'm getting older, especially because, um, right now the content for me is, I don't want to say stale, but like I have not gotten around to watching BotBots. I'm probably going to watch that with my nephew.
It's a
And
very
some
fun
people,
show.
that's what
Yeah.
people have been saying. And I definitely will be watching that. I'm not going to pass it up just because it's a quote unquote kids show. Um, but I think that unfortunately adult life has taken over. And so I think the collectibles are way more, because they're more accessible to me now than they were when I was a kid.
Sure.
Um, and there are always I have a wonderful fiance. She actually bought me a TFA lug nut for Christmas last year, which was one of the last, like I have almost every single TFA figure. Um, I am missing a few Decepticons, but other than that, so she was just like, all right, what ones are you missing? And she went on eBay for me.
There's
Which is
some hard to
always
find
great.
ones too. There's some
Yeah,
real
I
hard to
am.
find ones.
Oh my god, a Wreck-Gar is literally like a hidden gem among. Like I'm so pissed at myself too because I was in NYC Toys R Us when I was maybe like 16 or 17 years old, like right before it closed, and they had animated figures, and my dad was like, I'll get you one. And I was one of those kids who was like, no, I don't want to be spoiled. You don't have to get. And I'm so pissed. 16-year-old self, how could you have done this to me?
I'm mad at myself because I still don't have a Wreck-Gar from animated as well. And there was a TF Con 2 years ago, 3 years ago, or something like that. And I went by a booth and it had one sitting on the table, and it was in its box, and its box was signed by Weird Al. And I was
oh my god!
And it was $40. And I'm like, I don't need it right now. There's other things I can spend $40 on. And I'm like, you idiot! It's signed by Weird Al.
I hear you. I really do.
So,
oh man, yeah. There's definitely figures.
There's all those things, and then so there's stuff like that you look back on, and But speaking of conventions, have you been to a Transformers convention?
I have not been so lucky.
Oh my god, you gotta go.
Oh my god, I know. It's so funny. I just went to Anime Boston with a sibling, and I'm just like, I need to go to a TF convention so badly. It's so funny you bring that up because whenever people are like, if you could go back in time, where would you go? And I always know I'm like, I would go to 2008 TF Con because they had like the panel for Be in the City where it was a script reading with David K. Tara Strong and Bumper Robinson. And I'm like, I wanted to be there. I mean, I was like 13 years old. So, and, but I definitely have to, now that I'm, older and can afford it, and I know so much more about Transformers, and I like know the rich, culture that we like have as a community. I'm definitely, and I cosplay as well. So I'm about to get some stuff together if I have the opportunity to go.
There's some great cosplay contests. I've seen some. I don't do it myself, but I've seen some unreal costumes.
Oh, yes.
So it's been really, really great. The communities. There's so many different facets of it as well, and that's what's really great. And the what's been an interesting observation that I've made, and we're kind of getting off topic, but I just love talking about the community and stuff.
Of course, but we'll get back.
Yeah, the Transformers conventions. I've been going to TFCon either 2010 to 2011 and since, especially the Toronto one. When it's been here. But since then, I've noticed a real big, and I wouldn't say a shift, but a more a larger presence by the female fandom. They have started coming out in humongous numbers. When I started going, the only real female presence there were like wives or girlfriends of the guys who were really going, right? Yeah. And there'd be one or two or maybe a handful of fans. Now it's almost 50-50, right?
That is
You
so
know,
beautiful. I
it's
love to hear that.
huge. It's huge. And
Yeah.
I gotta say, you know, there's a lot of female fans that are buying the toys, but they're
Yes.
really there for the comic stuff. They're really there for
Absolutely.
the art. They're there for the crafty
Yep.
fan stuff,
Yeah.
and it's amazing to see. I've seen humongous lines for some of those fan artists, and
Yeah.
it's so great to see.
Yes.
And it's unreal. I've seen lineups
Yeah.
for artists that I'd never thought I'd see, and they wait hours
Yeah.
for artists to show up, and it's amazing.
For
So yeah,
sure.
it's been an incredible addition to the convention scene, because
Yeah.
it's just, you go to these conventions and it's always the same people you see over and over and over again. You're like, holy crap, this has really changed. The scene has really changed. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a really cool addition.
Yeah. That's to bring it a little bit back to psychology of that. There was a huge shift in the fandom. I'd like to say and there has always been Transformers fans who are women.
Of course,
but there was this big shift in the fandom. I don't want to say a year, but I can definitely pinpoint a group of years in which a lot of girls were getting involved. I think because not because the movies came out, right? And so there was that huge reawakening of the fandom from that. And I had, the personal experience of, I'm going to date myself here, but I had the personal experience of being on DeviantArt, and,
I remember DeviantArt.
Yeah. And we were all like on there drawing our OCs and drawing Transformers. And so because the movie was there and then animated with its very, I don't want to say girly aesthetics, but I feel like animated has something that's more close to anime, like how Cybertron, Energon, and oh my god, I'm blanking on the last one. Cybertron,
Armada?
Energon, the trio.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
Armada is the last one.
Armada. Thank you. I always forget Armada for some reason. And
it's very forgettable.
Yeah, unfortunate. But that was where they were still very blocky and very G1-esque in the anime sense. But then you have this character, Sari, who is one of your first female leads, who turns out to be this badass, and, spoiler alert, turns out to also be, a Transformer, a Cybertronian. And so I think that really led a lot of girls to be like, oh, this is for me too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, no, she was a great character.
Yeah,
a very cool character.
I definitely think Bumblebee definitely drew me in, but as soon as I saw Sari, and as soon as I learned that a girl was the lead, and there was very minimal other human, there is a lot of human, the villains and stuff, but she is that main human lead in that series. And so just really, I think, opened up a world for girls to be able to get into Transformers. And like I said, it's much of a smoother aesthetic. I don't want to say it's a feminine aesthetic, but it's smoother than the other ones. Everything else is very blocky and angular.
Of course, no, it's the Derek Wyatt style of art, right? Yeah, you saw it's exactly the same if you watched Ben 10, and
exactly,
and I think even bled over to when he was on Scooby-Doo as well. Yes, I think so. Yeah, he's very similar aesthetics. So yeah, and you knew you were watching a Derek Wyatt show when you saw it. So
absolutely. Fun fact: in that Scooby-Doo show, there's Sari is dropped in the back as a background character.
That's awesome.
Scooby-Doo Sari. Derek Wyatt put her in there, so I thought that was
great. That's great. What amazed me as more of a toy guy is that they made the character models work as toys.
God, yes,
blew me away.
Accurate.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite things, because I look at other, especially for Transformers Prime, and I'd be like, yeah, this is cool. But then you have animated where it's just Bumblebee really does transform the way he transforms in the animation. And that's actually how I learned to transform him, because I would be like, okay, his feet flip this way. Anyway.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that's very cool. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I just, they're very rounded
Yes.
character models, and the figures still stick it. They, they work
Yes.
it, and it's very cool how they manage to do that. But bringing it back to amassing
the
all of this.
Astro train back on its tracks. Hi.
There you got it. So we amass a lot of these figures and a lot of stuff over the years because we're fans of these properties, and and Transformers is not alone in this. This is, you can pick any kind of fandom out there, and it doesn't even have to be any kind of sci-fi. There are a lot of sports fans that amass man caves that are filled with stuff.
Yes.
And it's generally a lot more well received than a room full of Transformers. If you've got a room full of sports memorabilia, you're like, you're a big sports fan, aren't you? Yeah, I am. Oh, you're a weird Transformers guy, aren't you? Yeah, I am. But there's a reason behind these different collecting habits.
Yes.
I've got a lot of friends who I can go over to their houses and nobody's got a room full of Transformers or anything really. And so when I come back to my house, I'm like, am I the weird one in the group? I must be the weird, strange one, because I've got a room full of toys and comic books and weird, memorabilia of stuff, But then I think, no, there's a convention filled with me's, So, that's, there's either that whole convention is filled with weirdos, because we all do this weird, buying of everything, thing.
Exactly.
But maybe there's a weird little brain switch that we've all had clicked on us, and I'm eager to kind of dive into that and find out what's happened to us all.
Oh, absolutely. And that is a great segue into this, because one of the biggest things that I can say that is a cause for a lot of us to collect, and because there is so many different reasons to collect, I think the biggest one is nostalgia. There's literally a section of research based in the collection for nostalgia. We're collecting to reminisce about the television shows. Of course, Hasbro is making toys to make money, but when we see this, we're something in our brains say, plastic good, me want good memory, the chimp brain in all of us. And so the nostalgia trigger is really one of the big things, especially for Transformers, that has been out for, oh my God, are we in like 35 years at this point?
We're getting close to 40, actually. It's,
almost 40, yeah. And so that's definitely one of the big factors for it. One of the things that I was also looking into as I was looking into this topic is essentially collecting for clout. And I don't see this a lot in Transformers. I think that, like I said, I think I wish I did like a poll before we did this meeting, because I would love to see, what everyone else's reasoning is, because again, like I said, I think that the nostalgia factor is one of the one of the biggest reasons for us to be collecting. But maybe even for some of us who like to keep things in mint condition, who, I don't think a lot of us are collecting because we want to, make $1 million when we die, but there's that little sense of the ego in there as well, saying, look, all of my Transformers are in mint condition. I've got 80 of them all in their boxes. And some of us are like, for someone like me, I'm literally was pulling them out of the box as soon as I got them, and saving the art from the box on my wall. And so for me, that was, nostalgia and getting in tune with the television show that I loved so much growing up. I'm actually curious, Darryl. Do you have like a reason? Am I allowed to ask questions?
Of course. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Please.
I was going to say,
Please
do you have a
evaluate me.
reason? Yeah. Do you have a reason why you collect? Like, do you have, like, off the top of your head, do you know what has made you collect Transformers over the years?
I've thought about it a lot because this is a topic I've been very curious about. So there are instances that I will go to the store and I will buy a new figure. I will bring it home and it will sit and it will sit and it will never get opened. I can look at them. They're around the room all over the place.
Right.
There's some on the wall right there that have never, ever been opened. And it's just something that I tend to do. I get them and I'm like, got it. I got the new one and move on. Right.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things that it's the dopamine hit that you mentioned.
I was literally just about to say, it's almost like substance abuse is a very serious topic, but we are literally getting the same receptors to fire when we find like a Transformer that we really, like or connect with. It's like, oh yeah, I really have to get this Grimlock like right now. Like you said, the dopamine hits and I think that's, continues to have us collect for a lot of people who can continue to collect.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that generally only works when I'm buying like mainline Hasbro stuff that I can find in the store.
Right.
So if I'm not able to do that, if I'm shopping online for something like a third party toy or something that's a little bit more expensive,
right.
I'll press paid, and buy it now or ship or something like that. I don't get that same feeling. I don't get that same feeling when it shows up on the door. I'm just like, I open it up and I'm like, all right, it's here. And I'll open it up. Generally those ones I'll open up, I'll crack them open here in the room. I'll take a look at them. I'll maybe transform them once or twice. There are masterpiece, scaled figures in the cabinet behind you that I've taken out of the box, placed in the cabinet and never touched again. And they're $200 figures that I've never touched. And it's just, it's just that I wanted the figure. I thought it looked cool. And I thought, you know what, this will look good on the cabinet. And, I don't know if I'm chasing nostalgia as much anymore. I have a G1 collection.
Yeah.
You can't see, it's beside me here, where I have over 300 of the original G1 figures.
Right.
That's my nostalgia chase.
Yes. And you bring up, thank you so much, because you're literally bringing up my next point in people. And that would be aesthetic collecting. We're collecting because it's pretty, because it looks cool. And what's great with Transformers is we have two looks that we can display, especially if we take it out of the box. We're not just looking and it's a robot or it's a car. A lot of collectors have their one beat collection where it's one specific thing, but we have the option of displaying both cars and robots. So maybe if you're into cars and as well as Transformers, maybe you're displaying like, oh, this Bumblebee is a Camaro, and like a little bit about the Camaro. And I know I had a Jeep Wrangler as my first car, and so my dad bought me a Swindle.
The alternator Swindle. Yeah.
And so he looked like my yellow Jeep, and so that he's always just been in yellow Jeep mode. Like, poor Swindle has never been in robot mode. But so there's that like aesthetic aspect. And possibly when you look at your collection, I know I'm feeling like levels of joy, that serotonin, that dopamine, even looking at your collection. And so that aesthetic possibility, I bet that might be another aspect of why you still collect.
It is. And I sometimes get overwhelmed with the amount of stuff that I have.
Yes.
My wife has said that she said, this room is too small for you. You should move it into the larger room. And I said, no, I cannot move it into the larger room because I will fill that room.
Yes.
I need to maintain this smaller space because I can keep this smaller space and I won't do any more damage here, right? If I buy more stuff has to move out of here, right? So I have to keep it contained. The other thing that I do notice is that when I come into this room, I get relaxed. I can turn around,
bringing up every point that I have in my notes.
I'm getting to all your points first, but I can sit here and I can turn around and look at the cabinets behind me, which are generally my more valuable stuff, and I can just sit there and I'll be like, okay, these are nice. I like these ones a lot, and I can just kind of look at the cabinets and just maybe not remember getting them because there's an awful lot there. And each one of them has all been got in different spots. But I can just look at them all kind of stacked, stood together and just kind of chill out for a minute. It's a nice little Zen moment.
Absolutely, and that's literally I'm looking at my phone while we're talking to see my notes because I don't want you to see that I'm looking at my notes. But okay. I literally have relaxation and stress reduction as a form of why we collect. You have this, I love the stereotype of collectors for when they in media where they get a new thing and they're just like, yes, I have to put this so gently. And they seem like they're in this state of zen and happiness. And I think that really does reflect when we look at our collection or when, maybe not when we're overwhelmed by the size of it, but each individual piece, I'm sure, brings you joy in different ways. So maybe for the ones you do remember getting, that was, we were talking about how we each have a piece from our dads. And so having that memory brings joy, and, even reduces the stress. And of course, the chemical aspect of that, again, with the dopamine and the serotonin, literally relaxes your body.
Yeah,
absolutely.
What about this might be jumping ahead in your notes or your topics. That's okay. There, but what about I don't know if it's a familial connection or anything like that, because we've got all these people who collect differently.
Yeah.
But my brother and I couldn't be more different. People don't even think we're brothers the way we don't even look alike. He's 3 years younger than me, but I have a huge Transformers and comics collection, and he collects dolls, and he it couldn't be more different, but they're massive collections, and he's got a very, very valuable doll collection, and it's and I don't say it as to make fun of him. I say it as a huge sign of respect. He's he collects they're called Cherry Mary Muffins, and he loves those things. He's got almost the entire 3 seasons or 3 series of these things mint in box, and they're impossible to find. I don't know how he's been finding them, but
mad respect. Yeah.
So it's insane. But my wife will talk, and she'll see us talking. She's like, that is the one thing that makes you guys brothers, is the fact that you guys seem to have this insatiable thing about collecting. And, it's like, so we really didn't collect a lot as kids, but when we both went off on our own, we both kind of decided, we're going to collect stuff now. Is there something buried in our brains that decided to kind of crop up when we became adults? It's like, I'm going to amass a bunch of crap now,
No, that actually leads to a point back to the nostalgia collecting, because you're somehow tapping into some, this is just an example, and definitely not everyone. My dad collects Star Trek figures, and he collects the ships, because he kind of is filling this place, because he didn't collect when he was a kid. And he kind of did. And as, he is, someone who is an older sci-fi fan, there was not a lot of people doing that, or you couldn't connect with them at that time because there was no internet.
Sure.
When he was collecting, at least, and or very, even in the 80s, there was extremely very little internet, and they maybe had like the AOL chat rooms, that kind of thing.
You're giving a lot of respect to the 80s.
Absolutely, yeah.
The 80s might have been phone. You could have phoned up somebody.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I was going to say, I think that's the 90s. That's totally 90s. My bad. Yeah. 90s is when I grew up. So I remember that we couldn't, use the phone while mom was using the internet.
That's right. The 80s was the Stone Age when it came to internet.
So there you go. You only prove my point that there's this point where we're connecting through these items that we are, that we're collecting. So whether it be dolls, whether it be Star Trek, whether it be Transformers, there is a connection to our childhood in some way. And in some unfortunate instances, it's because there was a lack of affection or a lack of something that was essentially collecting is to fill a need. What that need is going to vary. For example, I started collecting Transformers because I was really not a sociable kid. I was really nervous, and that kind of filled my niche for friendship. Sad to say, but it really felt like, I really thought of Bumblebee and Optimus as my friends. They were, in my head when I was upset. Thankfully not so much now. I was able to grow and realize they are just characters, but right. It filled a niche for me. And so for my dad, like, he was filling his niche of needing to feel like a kid again because he had to work through his childhood.
Sure.
He was working at my grandparents' restaurant. He was, he got some airplane models when he was a kid, but he didn't, Star Trek was his like favorite thing, and it was just not accessible for him. So, whatever people's needs are when it comes to, they're filling some kind of need with collecting.
So my one concern was that, and that I've always kind of thought of, because my brother and I both, are heavy collectors, was that, perhaps it's to, it's to kind of maybe disassociate or kind of, because we both share a childhood trauma, and it's, I say trauma, but we lost our father very young.
That is a trauma. You're so, okay. Yeah.
It's not like, we were in a car accident or anything like that, but it was, it was young, and we lost our father, and then, life changed for a kid, a big change like that. And it's, it was not super sudden, but it was tough. Right. Absolutely. And with him being 3 years younger than me, he was 5, I was 8. And, so when that happened to me, I was right in, would have been 88. Transformers would have just ended. The way I've kind of psychologically, set it up in my head, G1 Optimus Prime was positioned as a father figure. Right. Yes. And, so when G1 ended, G2 started. Yes. And G2 was a toy line, but G2 as a cartoon was just the G1 show shown again.
Yes.
With a different intro and outro. So that's all they did. So essentially G1 ran for me for a few years before Ninja Turtles kind of took over in 88, 89. So all I did was continue to watch Transformers. And this is me in my head, putting this father figure onto Prime now. And, knowing that at this point in time, I've already seen him die in 86. So, in the 86 movie, so I've seen him die already. So I'm like, okay, well, he comes back obviously because I've seen the future shows, but it's weird as a kid, you kind of, in your brain, you've got this kind of cartoon father figure, as you've alluded to. It happens as a childhood brain. But my brother, I don't know what he had to kind of, because his brain's completely different, but he obviously latched onto something maybe it's Jerry Mary Muffins, but obviously it was something because he's gotten onto something else. But in my mind, it was always latching onto trying to fill the hole left by a traumatic memory.
Yep. And so, that's a beautiful and perfect example. Like, you could have not have made a better example for, or had that example from your life. And thank you so much for feeling like you could share, because that is a childhood trauma. Like, I don't think we see things like that as a trauma, but from like a clinical standpoint, it is, because it did change your life dramatically. Dad's not there anymore. Huge change in your life.
Sure.
And so, it brings the point that you're filling, for you, Transformers was filling, that niche, that Prime as a father figure, and your dad had given you your figure. And so, yeah, absolutely.
Interesting. So the takeaway for me is that there are many facets that cause people to collect.
Yes.
It doesn't necessarily mean one.
Right.
What about what about the need to continue to hold on to this stuff? So you've got the collection, but the ability to not let go of anything, is that still tied to all that? Or are you just, because I look at the stuff and I'm like, okay, well, I now have 3 of these things and they're all the same, but is this crossing a line? Am I now, how fine is the line between collector and hoarder?
Beautifully said, first of all, because I was going to bring up the fact that, there is that fine line between hoarding and collecting. I think that the line is kind of, puts you in one or the other is kind of the fact of, and it's so funny because you are collecting Transformers, and, I don't know, this is personal experience. I would actually have to you'd have to individually talk to collectors, but looking into, is the collecting making it impossible for them to live?
Okay.
And that really is where the line is drawn. So I don't think I've ever come across any kind of figure collector where they've essentially bankrupted themselves. And maybe it does happen, but not as often as where I've come across it before. But let's say if someone was collecting Transformers and you couldn't walk into their living room and there was only a little if you've ever seen the show Hoarders, there are episodes where people aren't collecting garbage. They're collecting things like dolls. And there was one episode that it was just porcelain dolls and stuffed animals everywhere. And the reason that it became hoarding and it was no longer a collection is because this woman was essentially, there was no fire safety anymore. Her house was literally a fire hazard. It came to a point where she was bankrupting herself and so that I was going to say that was one of the cases, but I wouldn't call it collecting. I'd call it hoarding. Right. So we as collectors, you and I are not spending every paycheck on Transformers. I hope not.
Try.
I know. Let me spend but we are conscious enough to make sure our bills are paid. We are conscious enough you even made the reference of saying, I don't want to move into that bigger room because I'm just going to fill it again.
Right.
So you're making the conscious effort to keep it under control in some aspect. And, be appropriate with, appropriately display. You're not just throwing things everywhere. These things have and what is actually ironic is that there is that connection between hoarding and collecting because there is special sentiment to every item that we collect, even though in hoarding situations, maybe they collect newspapers or the unfortunate circumstances where they're collecting waste in the bathroom.
Right.
But for those people, their brains are hardwired to say, I can't let go of anything. Whereas we are selecting something to hold on to, and it can appropriately say when enough is enough. In terms of like financials and that kind of thing.
Right.
So there is, the line is a little bit thicker than we thought.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Something that I've always tried to remember, because I do amass a lot of things, is that I generally focus on Transformers and comic books, and it's been getting tougher with comics because my collection's getting close to 10,000 comics.
Beautiful, first of all.
But I'm glad there's apps for comics to remember or to catalog what you have. And if I didn't have those, I'd be a mess. But when it comes to Transformers, if I buy something, if I buy a figure, I'm not talking new because those are easy to keep track of. If I buy an older figure and I bring it home and I go to put it in with my collection or where it belongs, and I find that I've already got it, like if I've forgotten that I have it, now I've realized that there's a problem, right?
No, I hear ya.
That's something that I have to, and if it's starting to happen multiple times, I gotta really start to rethink where everything's going. Because if I can't keep track of my own brain, what's happening, right? Then I know that I've got to take a step back, because there's now there's too much, right?
Right. No, but that's positive mental health. Like the fact that you are taking time to consider that it might be a problem, that just means you've got some good mental boundaries, and you've got boundaries within your collecting.
Mm-hmm. It's just because I have watched that Hoarders show, and I am terrified of one day my daughter or my wife finding me buried under a pile of plastic, because we haven't seen Dad in 2 days. Maybe someone should check the room downstairs. Oh yeah, his shelves collapsed and he's dead. He's underneath them.
Absolutely. But I always say people who think they're crazy are not actually crazy, because they're taking the time to think about those things. People who are actually, air quotes, crazy, and in the profession I am, I would not actually use that like with clients, but what society thinks is crazy. The fact that you're thinking about those things means that you are, being mentally aware is just, you're on the right track for that stuff.
Okay, well, that's good. That makes me feel a lot better.
No, absolutely. I would be really worried if you were just like, oh yeah, I have 80 copies of this one Waspinator from Beast Wars, and I don't care about, it's like what, and I'm like, do you really need 80 of those?
Not sure you need any copies of Waspinator.
I'm dead. No. Oh, I have a friend who would disagree. We literally call her
you got it. The original. I'll give you that. I'll give you the original. And maybe a couple of one of the newer ones, but
too funny. No, absolutely right. But you have those boundaries, and I think boundaries are what separate us. Again, on that line between hoarder and collector, there are boundaries in place.
Okay.
So yay!
All right.
Good job.
Good. Yay for boundaries.
Yay!
Fantastic. So where do you think collecting? Where's a is I don't want to say, because I think we've kind of established it's all healthy, but is some aspects more or less healthy? Is it good to amass? Is it just everyone's personal preference? I it's a terrible way to ask this question, but
that's okay.
Where's is it becoming more of a social norm to have people have rooms full of stuff?
Yes.
Maybe that's a better way of asking it.
No, and that is a perfect thing. I think that it is something we've actually been doing for a really long time as humans. I can even, I think, quote back to the ancient Egyptians. When they passed, they had all of those things put in their room with them to...
Good point.
So I think that we have not just been collecting. I think because it's become a little bit more mainstream because of the internet. We're able to show off our collections and say, hey, look at this. But even like in more air quotes modern times, so like maybe the 1800s, people collected coins and stamps. Stamp collecting was like a huge thing. And it still is a huge thing, ironically.
Yeah, I've got a stamp collection from back in the day. One of the first things I collect.
Yeah. And so I don't want to be incorrect, but I'm going to say it just, but I do believe there has been like findings of like collections of pottery from like ancient society. And it's like, why do they have all of these pots here together? Were they actually being used, or was this person collecting them? So humans have been collecting for a long time, and I think that now it is just capitalism has made us be able to collect things that are, that are made to display. So like stamps used to be also useful. Coins are useful. Pottery is useful. But now we have, I think it's not even a bad thing. I think we are able to collect things that are aesthetically pleasing, like Transformers. And they are kids' toys, but you know what? Like, they bring us joy. And I think that they're just another form of humans trying to press the happy button in our brain. If I want to just encompass everything,
Yeah, that's okay. So and I made mention of it right at the beginning there is that, it's been normal for a very long time for the people in sports fandoms to have full rooms, full garages full of things.
Yeah.
And only now with, with the rise of nerd culture, it has, rooms full of toys and comic books and other things had been, starting to kind of take, precedent.
Right.
So it's been really interesting to see that kind of a shift.
I was going to say it's a shift of items more than a shift of collecting. We're not shifting into collecting things. We're shifting into different items that are socially acceptable to collect.
Right. Yeah. Do you have any other interesting points over there? My questions were fairly minimal.
You did a great job prompting me. I'm really happy. I think the only other thing that I put is Thrill of the Hunt, which, to be frank, also a Transformers animated episode. I'm so sorry.
I'm impressed that you have all these episodes. Like you remember the episode names and stuff.
I was extremely obsessed. I even had, when I was a kid, I would sit next to the TV and record the episodes on my MP3 player, just the audio. And I literally, for the longest time, I had all of the episode nanosec, like, memorized. Like, I could literally know the music. It literally starts with a bass line that goes boo-doop, boo-doop, and then nanosec running, and it's literally a little upsetting to even be able to say that I could, like, but that was like, I think that's what's wonderful, about collecting in Transformers is
the fans of my age, they all have the 86 movie memorized. So the whole entire movie,
so good.
They can start from the start, the first line, and they can go right to the end. So we can all do it.
Okay. I feel less bad, especially, now that you were saying that. I'm reminded my dad knows all of Blade Runner back to front. So
wow, that's a good one.
That was his favorite. Yeah. But yeah, no, we really hit upon all of the points. The
Thrill of the Hunt one is interesting because it will be one that I do find to be interesting, and we did talk about it a bit there, but there are sometimes, and I've tried to step away from it recently because just the funds aren't there, and personally, I'm not as intrigued with the way that the figures are being built right now. Yes. So I've kind of stepped away and only buying ones that I'm really keen on getting.
Yep.
But but I would hit a store every single day until I found a figure. And
Oh, yeah.
and then I'd pick it up and I maybe opened it. In fact, it was the reason why I started doing video reviews back in the a long time ago. I don't do them anymore, but I said I gotta open these figures. So I started doing video reviews for myself, and it was strictly to make myself open the figures. Right?
Yeah.
And it helped. And I started doing that, but I never really did well with the video reviews. It was strictly for me to open up the figures, and it helped quite a bit.
Yeah, I think a great example of thrill of the hunt for collectors is definitely when it comes to Funko Pops.
Oh yeah,
Funko Pop collectors are wild. I have respect for people who I don't personally love the figures myself. I think they're a little eerie, but for people who go from store to store because they're like randomly being like, these are FYE exclusives, these are Hot Topic exclusives, like you gotta hunt for those. So if you have like a special Funko Pop, special golden Shrek Funko Pop, that's like it was exclusive at Target for 27 hours, that's definitely where like the thrill of the hunt might come in, especially for and then you can show that, and that ties it back into showing off to the community and connecting to the community as well. That was another thing that we touched upon briefly, and is that we get to do stuff like this. We both collect plastic figurines that transform into different things, and we have made a social connection, which is wonderful.
Mm-hmm. It's fantastic. The funny story that I have about Funko Pops is I was at Fan Expo one year, the Toronto show, and I had got in with a press pass early. So I was just kind of walking around taking some pictures as I did for the podcast. And I ended up just walking down this hallway, and somebody walked out towards me and said, "You might want to get out of the way." I said, what are you talking about? Show's not even open. I said, well, it's opening now, and you're right in front of the Funko booth, and they're coming. And I looked, and these people were sprinting down the hallway to get to the booth early, to get there first in line, because they had some kind of exclusive or whatever for the show. And I said, holy cow, I gotta move. So yes. Yeah, and it was insane. And there was people yelling at them, don't run, and they were like, and they were coming. I'm like, oh my God, this is nuts.
Yeah,
right?
That's so, Funko Pop people are definitely an example of thrill of the hunt for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's wild. I mean, there are Chase Transformers figures too. Not anything that I've really particularly, gone after. Each convention that I've attended, there will be some that have come out, and there'll be some that are exclusive to that convention. Nothing that ever really doesn't show up anywhere else.
Right.
I did manage to get one third-party figure that was extremely limited, and I just kind of happenstanced upon it because I was in the show early, and it was a third-party figure. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the company Mastermind Creations.
I probably heard of them.
They make the some of the comic-based characters. Ooh. So they did it's their subsidiary company called Ocular Max, and they did a cliff jumper. So they produced this same cliff jumper, but they did them all in black, and they called them something like Spec Ops Cliff Jumper, or Spec Ops Hellion, I think is what the name was, because he's third party, can't have the name Cliff Jumper. Yeah. So I stumbled upon this and I said, what is this thing? And the guy said, oh, it's the Spec Ops Hellion. And I said, oh, that's neat. And he said, and the guy said, he's like, it's only limited to 9. There's only 9 of them. And I said, I'll take one. So I have one of them, and it's actually numbered. My number is 1, so I have the first one. So yeah, so it's pretty cool. It's very neat, and it's not even out. I don't even have it in a box somewhere out of way, but it's pretty neat. Yeah. So
I have a figure that I really am doing him a disservice not remembering his name, but he is actually in the Transformers Facebook community, and he makes animated Omega Supremes. Obviously not to scale, but quite large. Okay. I want to say at least like 3 feet, almost like the Unicrons that they were putting out there for a little bit. He only makes them in like batches of 5, and they really transform.
Wow.
My finances are not there, but that's like my golden goose egg that I'm like, when I have $400-500 to shell out to him, I will gladly do so.
I always, I remember watching that season, and I thought, man, that Omega Supreme could work. That easily could work. And I'm glad somebody's making it. That's cool.
Hasbro really took something that could have been great, and Money and Cartoon Network just made just
well,
took it away.
I mean, there was a lot of stuff that really got shelled. The Constructicons, I was really hoping for the Constructicons to kind of like actually form Devastator and stuff like that. Yes. That would have been amazing. There is I don't know whether you had actually been a part of it or were able to get anything from it, but TF Nation, the UK show, was able to get the script for a season 4 and put it together and got the script reading. And now they couldn't air any of that.
Right.
But yeah, it does
David
exist.
Kay was a part of that. Yeah. And that is I've only ever been able to listen to a couple of minutes here and there because I'm emotional about it. So it's but it's literally like I just like what could have been, but yeah.
Well, I mean, obviously there's the voice actors are still here, so you can always talk to them about it, right?
Oh, absolutely. I got the when I did meet oh my God, why am I blanking on his name? Literally, I just said it
David
5
Kay?
minutes. No, it was Phil Lamar. Sorry.
Lamar, yeah.
When I had met him, he actually did not have Jazz or Omega Supreme on his like little poster. Of course, he had Samurai Jack and like Wilt from Imaginary Friends. And I was just like, oh, Jazz isn't on here. And he's just like, you're so right. I need to add him immediately. And I'm just like, thank you. Like, you didn't need to do that for one person mention, but like, there's still really the fact that, it's still in his brain as well, because he has, hundreds of different voice jobs that he's done. And it's nice that he even, remembered.
He's very talented, Phil Lamar is.
Oh my God. I love him so much. Yeah. He's a delight.
I am so thrilled that you're a huge Transformers fan. And that, you get to psychoanalyze, from the inside, so you're in here, but you're also kind of looking at it from the outside too. It's fantastic. You're kind of looking at it and psychoanalyzing the fandom. I think that's really cool.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much. Yeah, my two passions in life are Transformers and psychology. So definitely they can, psychology covers a lot. And yeah. And it's so funny. One of my best friends has been her name's Liz. She's a clinical social worker like I am, and her favorite she has this poster of, oh my God, I'm blanking because I'm nervous. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not like nervous, but he's got an IDW and he's orange. I'm so terrible that I can't remember his name. He's got
Unicron?
Glasses.
No.
Hold on.
Rung.
Rung. Thank you. I'm sorry. Yeah. Spoiler alert. But she has a poster of Rung in her office.
Very cool.
Yeah, and so
there's a toy of him.
Yeah. It's definitely something that I'm gonna.
Not the little one, the bigger one, right?
The bigger one, yeah.
Yeah. That it's harder to find. A lot of people wanted it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you do read the comics then? You're into the comics?
Absolutely. It's Pride Month, so I just want to throw this out there. I'm gay, and Cyclonus and Tailgate are literally this beautiful couple that I was so excited to see. as, just as Sorry is a girl and I am a girl and I was excited to see a girl in Transformers, I was so delighted to see the amount of queer content in the comics. It was really tastefully well done. It wasn't like anything that was like distasteful. I don't know how you would be distasteful with it, but you can.
I thought it, so I liked it. I liked it a lot. But I thought near the end it got added for fan service, and I don't want that to sound distasteful.
You are so okay.
I thought the Cyclonus and Tailgate was beautiful. I thought Chrome Dome and Rewind was amazing. Their story was phenomenal. Right. And then when the Node and Lug stuff came in, I thought, okay, this is being added for fan service.
Totally okay. Yeah, so, I can definitely agree that was something that was put in there. But I also, but I also think that just the fact that they did put it in there anyway, I appreciate as a gay person, even if it is fan servicey, it's just like, what is it called? Representation that's in there. Yep. Like, even if you throw the representation in at the end, like my greedy little gay hands are still going to want to get my hands on it.
Sure. Yeah, it was fine. Yeah.
Yeah. I totally hear you though. It really, from a plot point. Absolutely.
Yeah. I have Anode and Lug are just one of the issues that I had with the end of Lost Light.
Yeah. I mean, and of course it was sped up to all,
super, and with Scorponok carrying a human baby, I was like, what the is going on?
You are correct, though.
So
that is only the correct reaction to have with
what is happening with this storyline.
No. But, you are completely correct.
But yeah, I don't want to harp on the Anode and Lug stuff, but I had a problem with it. I think Anode was a very cool character.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to remember. It's been so long since I read those issues. But
it's been a long time, yeah.
But I think it happened something like, did Anode start off male gendered and then switched?
Yeah, both of them actually did. There's literally, I think there's a point where Anode is in a bar and is talking to someone and saying, "Yeah, I go by Lug's a she too now. We saw that like other people on other planets, like we explored, and we saw that there was, more than just this."
Right. So I think might have been around that same panel that I kind of had a bit of a problem with it, that they just there was no lead up, there was no explanation, there was no that we're thinking about it. There's no discussion between the two. It's just, we go by she now, and I'm like, okay, and I get what you're doing.
Yeah.
But it's just something that maybe you could have led into it a little more.
No, and I completely agree with that. If you're just throwing it in there for like trying to get, the gay community in there, it's nice.
And that's where my fan service comment comes in. I'm like, okay.
No, you are totally correct. There is no offensive connotation to that. That's just the truth about it. If they had led up to those moments, and instead of just throwing them in there, you're totally right. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because
you're okay.
This with you terrifies me. So
no, you are so okay. I really agree. From a plot point, it was like, okay, cool, I guess. But from like the queer point, it was like, yay.
Okay. No, that's good. And I see it as representation, and that's I'm all for it. My brother, the doll collector, he is homosexual, and that's I have been an ally. That's the word. Yes, I've been an ally for a very long time. So I'm on the team. But
that's totally if they did anything like, for example, in Transformers Prime, there was like a lot of stuff thrown in at the end. We weren't happy about, I wasn't happy about that. And I think that from a plot standpoint, we can also be unhappy about the thrown in fan service, as you have mentioned, even if it is good. representation. So you hit the mark. You're okay with it. I'm good.
Good. The most recent comics have fallen way short for me. I'm actually very critical of the comics.
That's okay.
I am and it's way past what we've planned to discuss, but I'm just talking Transformers now, so I don't care. But I am an art first person with regards to the comics. They're a visual medium, and if I can't get past the art, then the words could be Shakespeare, and I'm not gonna enjoy them. Right? Actually, I hate
totally
Shakespeare.
agree with that. I think that was something that I couldn't get past. What was I watching that I really couldn't get past the animation?
Beast Wars.
Oh, thank you. Holy
yes.
Why did you read my mind?
Because you agree with me, because everyone that talks to me on the show is telling me to watch Beast Wars, and I say, guys, I cannot stand to look at it.
Thank you. Oh my God, somebody understands me, because there was a point where I was in high school and I was talking to someone about Transformers, and he was like, yeah, I love Beast Wars. It's the best series. And I'm like, I would believe you if I could watch it, because I have really forced myself. I had my best friend's ex-boyfriend was super into Transformers, and he made her watch Beast Wars, and she's just like, yeah, I can understand why you wouldn't watch it. And I'm just like, and you know what? I bet the plot is good.
Yeah.
Can I watch it? No effing way.
Yeah. So you get my point. Yeah. It's one of those things, and I hear it all the time. They're like, it's the best written Transformers show there is. Yeah. And I'm like, that's great. Am I listening to it only because I cannot stand to look at it?
Right. So I'm so glad finally an older Transformers fan understands that, because I have met a lot of older Transformers fans who are just like, oh, Beast Wars the best one. And I'm like, how? Like, they were like, oh, it was good for its time. And I'm like, but I have to watch it now. Like, I wasn't watching it when it came out. So I need to be able to enjoy the visuals.
Yeah. Nope.
Maybe one day they'll reanimate it.
I will say it was good for its time, and but it's got to compete with the 2022 animation. And if it was done in 2D animation, because I can sit down and I can watch G1, I can watch animated, I can watch all these other shows. I still have a problem with the Unicron trilogy, because it's garbage animation.
Yes.
So
my God.
But I'm a visual person. I can't get past it. And the comics are the same. If the art is drawn really, in my opinion, because art is also subjective, if the art is drawn in a way that I am not a fan of, then I have a real problem getting into the story.
I'm delighted by this conversation. Thank you.
Good.
First time anyone has ever agreed with me that's like an avid fan as I am, and I'm just... Ooh,
I'm glad that a highly educated person such as you agrees with me, because I have a doctor as a co-host on my show, and he will say I'm dead wrong, and I said no, I said sorry, I can't be wrong, it's my opinion, but so I'm glad that someone as educated as you is going to agree with me.
Thank you so much. I think it's so funny that it really is funny you bring it up, because I'm really delighted, because no one ever agrees with me. So,
well, I have an ongoing bit on our show Transmissions, is that that I go as I'm the number one Beast Wars fan.
Oh no!
But it's only because I've bought the most expensive Beast Wars toys. So I've paid for the title. That's the bit, is that I've paid for it. So until somebody wants to outspend me, I'm the number one Beast Wars fan.
I was going to say, those figures are good. The figures I do like. Yeah.
Yeah, those figures, they're expensive. The show, anyone can watch. It's free. You can watch it. You can, that doesn't cost any money. You want the title, you got to put down the coin. That's my, so yeah. But I Well, I don't want to take up any more of your time, but this has been a fantastic discussion. I've really enjoyed myself this evening, and
Me too.
I think that this is going to be a really interesting discussion for people to listen to. And I would really hope that we get some good feedback on this, and maybe we could do this again. I would love a deep dive on some of this.
Absolutely. You know where to find me. So we can do this, and if you come up with any more topics where they connect, I am here for it.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. Well, again, thank you, Izzy, for joining me tonight. I'm thrilled that we could deep dive into this. This was so much fun.
I love it so much, and I'm really pleased to be able to connect with another Transformers fan on this level. It's been a while, so thank you so much.
No problem. All right. Well, again, this is Izzy Franzese, and she is a social worker, and she is currently working on her master's at the College of St. Rose in Albany, New York. And I am so grateful to have her join me tonight on this special episode of Transmissions.
All right. Thank you, Darryl. I'm going to transform and roll out.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Transmissions. If you'd like to join the conversation, travel to our Discord channel at transmissionspodcast.com/Discord. Want some cool transmission swag? Feast your eyes on our transmissions gear at transmissionspodcast.com/shop. If you'd like to support our podcast, go to transmissionspodcast.com/support or tell your friends about our show. We'll see you next time.